Welcome again to Cottage Talk. I'm Russ Goldman. Joining me right now is my good friend Tony Gold. This is our full-time show of Fulham's 2-1 victory against Wolves at Molineux Tuesday night. Tony, what a massive victory for Fulham. The roller coaster ride, we're on the way back up again. When it comes to this side, it is crazy. But you know what? A fantastic win, Tony. And like I said, this is our initial reaction show. We'll go for about 20 minutes to a half hour. And if you're watching live, please feel free to share who was your man of the match. There's some contenders there, so give it some thought. And if you want to share a comment or two during the show, feel free to. Okay, my friend, let's get to it. Give me your initial reaction to this 2-1 Fulham victory against Wolves.
Well, no one. I mean, I know you called it, Russ, to be fair, and a few people did. But when the lineup came out, when the team came out,
we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. No one saw this result coming, really, based on that formation. But you know what? Fair play to Marco Silva. Fair play to the players that have come in, and fair play to for the lads that didn't play particularly well against Palace on Saturday and put in a really good performance tonight. And you know, this is what's so frustrating about us at the moment, Russell, is that, you know, you go from what we watched on Saturday against Crystal Palace to then going to what you watch tonight, you know, against Wolves, and you just it beats you up because you just want that consistency going in every single week. I thought, you know, the energy levels from the group tonight were 10 times better than they were on Saturday. The intent was 10 times better. There was a real work ethic to us tonight. And actually, there's an argument now to be said that certain players look better when we play free at the back. I thought Anderson looked much more comfortable tonight in that position in the centre of the two. Diop came in and looked like he hadn't been out of the side. I thought Cuenca, special mention to him tonight. I thought he was excellent tonight. And just all-round energy was just so much better. And I think maybe Silva realised that we needed a little bit more of fresh legs, fresh impetus, and it worked. And you know what? That's what he gets paid for, Russ. That's what he gets paid a lot of money for. That's why he's the manager of the club. He's there to make those tough decisions. And tonight, you've got to, you know, applaud him. He got it absolutely spot on.
Absolutely, Tony. We're going to talk about the starting 11 in just a couple of minutes. But before I do that, I just want to say, yes, I predicted 2-1, but I'm an optimistic person. I just had a feeling that we would get a reaction. But let's now go and talk about that starting 11, because when I saw it, Tony, I called you right away. And I was looking at it and I'm thinking, is this one eye on the cup? Is this trying to play a different way and see how it works to match up against Wolves? I actually think a lot has to do with it. But as I mentioned to you, and we're going to talk about this during the show, I think what saw this match out was the substitutes that they had in the second half. I think that was always part of this plan, Tony. And the one thing that I will say about Marco, his plan A can be pretty spectacular at times, and this was one of them. So let's just talk about the starting 11. What was your reaction?
Yeah, obviously I was surprised because I knew in my mind, in my heart, that he was going to make some changes after Saturday. I think it was inevitable. He had to. I thought we looked very leggy. We looked tired, you know, and so I thought he would freshen it up. I didn't think he'd make as many changes as he did. So obviously, you know, you're sitting there thinking, wow, he's obviously got a mind with the game against United on Sunday in his head, but he's also got in his mind that he wanted to freshen it up. And you know, you saw the tweets that people were sending out, you know, what's he done? This is either going to go really, really well or really badly. It's a big gamble. But you know what? I'm pleased for Silva. I'm pleased he took a risk. He showed a bit of bravery tonight. We talked about that the other day, about him being brave and fearless. And he showed that tonight. And look, he would have come in for a hell of a lot of stick tonight if that had gone wrong. He really would have done. And he would have put it, you know, people would have said, well, he did it because we got the big game on Sunday. Let me tell you now, every game now until the end of the season is a big game because of where we are and because other teams above us keep dropping points and the teams around us are dropping points. We're in the mix. And so, again, that's why it makes it even more frustrating, because if we could just get on a bloody run of games and win, you know, 4 consecutive games, we'd be flying.
I'm going to share this comment from our friend Black, White, and Fred. This basically sums it up. Schizophrenic Fulham, 2 points off fifth after the worst performance of the season. It's a roller coaster ride. We just keep going up and down, and it's crazy. He really nailed it. You and I talked about it.
He has.
Can we just have a consistent run? We cannot have it for whatever reason. I'm going to share some more comments. This is for my friend here. This is Marco, man of the match. I have to mention this because I did a show with my friend here, Suhail. He says, we predicted the score yesterday, Russ. We should be paid predictors. Maybe we should. I don't know. But he did predict it along with myself. So that's what's crazy about this, my friend. It is a wonderful Fulham victory. But when I looked at the starting 11, I just thought that, okay, he might have figured something out. And I thought, if you looked at the bench, anyone that looked at the bench, you're thinking, if he really wants to change this, he can. Just by moving the pieces around. Yes, it's like for the most part. It is like for like. But you know what? It's dynamic. It was dynamic. When you can bring on Willian and you can bring on Iwobi, Jedi comes on, makes a huge difference. Tony, he got that spot on. We'll get the substitutes in a bit because I really love that mindset that he had. Like you said, to me, Tony, you've already said this. He played with no fear. I'm talking about Marco, not just the players. Marco really set Fulham up for victory. I always say, put your players in the best position to succeed. I wasn't sure about that in the last match against Crystal Palace, but he did it here, Tony.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as I say, credit to the players for, putting in the performance, rising to the occasion and working hard. They worked hard tonight. They really worked hard tonight. And actually, we'll come on to the second half, which I thought that's one of the best second halves we've had for a long time, in terms of the control, the way that we rolled up our sleeves, dug in. And like you said, for the first time in a long time, we've had options on the bench where actually you're strengthening yourself and not weakening yourself. And I think that was a massive difference going into the last 20, 25 minutes tonight as well. Big difference.
The difference maker were those substitutes. The fact that we had those strong options, and I saw a pretty tired Wolves side at the very end. And I said that to you at halftime. I said, there's an opportunity here for Marco to really change this, not with changing the formation, but the players that he could potentially bring on. And it played out that way. And I'm glad that it did. But that's the brilliance of Marco Silva, because I think that this is always part of the plan, was to bring those players on. But let's get to some key moments. And obviously, Tony, Ryan Sessegnon scores to start the match up a little over a minute into the match. And I got to be honest with you, when I saw VAR was involved, I got a little bit nervous, and it was tight. But what a great goal here, Tony. And Ryan Sessegnon looked like the old Ryan Sessegnon.
Do you know what? I'm absolutely delighted for him, really. I mean, he's come in, looked like he's never been away. And you know what? We've got to be frank. That finish was quality, Russ. That wasn't an easy finish, let me tell you. And he was so laser focused when he got his head up. He knew exactly where that ball was going, and he didn't think twice. And fair play to him. It was a great finish. Really happy for him. And I thought that really set up his confidence for the game. I thought he was excellent tonight. I really did. I thought he was really good from the first minute to the last minute that he went off. I thought he was class tonight.
I want to share this from our friend Black, White, and Fred. Textbook says goal. It's 2018 all over again. So, again, that was a fantastic goal, and that set Fulham up. But you know what, Tony? You knew you were going to get a reaction from Wolves. And once they settled in, they were dominating the play for the majority of the first half. But I want to talk about their goals, because we talk about this all the time. I thought of you right away. A goal that should never have happened, meaning it was a preventable goal. And you said this to me, the first half, every time they got near our box, Tony, I was nervous. And I think I had a reason to be. Let's talk about the equalizer for Wolves.
Look, Wolves are no mugs. They've got some very good players. They're very well organised under their new manager. Kuna was a constant threat, throughout the night. You have to defend solidly. You have to be strong out of possession. You have to be very disciplined. Your shape has to be right. Again, Russell, our Achilles heel, we've given away another poor goal. If you were to do a reel of the goals that we've given away this season and the manner in which we've conceded them, I mean, that one tonight's going to be up in the top 6 or 7. Honestly,
That was bad.
It was appalling. I mean, Castagna and Traore, you know, they've got to do better in that situation. They just have to do better. And it was just very lackluster. And, you know, you've given him the opportunity. The guy, you know, he's put a decent ball into the box. And again, players just ball watching, not focused, not switched on, not watching runners. And, you know, fair play to Gomez. He's hit it well, and it's a good finish. But really, that could be preventable, Russell. It really can be. And that's something, that's an area of the game and a side of the game that collectively we and Silva have to work on. We have to work on. Yeah, like Chris says, no marking, bad goal to take. But how many of these goals do we concede week in and week out?
I know.
You know, and, you know, eventually at some point, it will cost us. You know, it will cost us. We got Man City last game of the season, Russell. That game a hell of a lot could be riding on that game, right? You just imagine it now.
It's crazy that it might come down to that.
Yeah, correct. We have to start defending those situations better.
Okay, and I totally agree with you on that, Tony. And I want to just get your assessment of the first half overall. Like I said, Fulham started strong. I wouldn't say created too many opportunities after that, but looked dangerous on the break when they got the opportunity. What did you make of their performance overall in the first half?
Yeah, listen, I thought it was dogged. I thought, you know, we had a lot more energy than we did on Saturday. That was the pleasing thing. Players were working a lot harder. You know, I thought Lukic and Berg, you know, kept us ticking over in the middle. I thought Pereira actually looked quite bright and quite lively tonight, you know, like he's got a point to prove. I thought Muniz, I'll say it now, for me, he was my man of the match. I thought he was outstanding tonight, Russell. I really do.
Oh, he's great.
He was a constant threat, a nuisance, very physical, you know, and he was the difference, really, I thought, for between the two sides tonight. I really do. And I thought actually the three at the back actually worked tonight. Yeah. I thought Anderson looked a lot more comfortable playing in a central pivot with Cuenca and Diop beside him, and I thought they both stepped up and played really well. So you know, they did enough. As I say, gave away a poor goal, but you know, could have gone one way or the other after that, conceded that goal. We consolidated. We made sure we didn't, you know, make any more mistakes, and then Silva could address it at half time. And then obviously whatever he said to them at half time worked.
It did, my friend. I have to share this comment from our friend Chris Goodwin. Fulham versus Man City for a Champions League place. Who says no? Now, it's funny because I'm not allowed to talk about Champions League, but you know what, Tony? We're not that far off. How crazy is that?
It would be a lovely position to be in, Russ, let me tell you.
Okay, I have to share this from our friend Sahel because he talked to me a little bit about your thoughts on Anderson. This is what he says. Tony says Anderson played well. What has happened to the world?
Listen, I know I get stick for about. I'm quite critical of him, Russ, because and Sahil, I'll tell you this: when you pay £30 million for a centre half, there's certain expectations that you want from a player, right? Certain expectations. Look, I'll give him credit tonight. He turned it round, given, you know, after what I thought was, you know, not a great performance Saturday. And if he continues to play at that level, then you know what, the money you spent on him is worth it.
Okay, very good there, my friend. All right, let's move to the second half. You and I talked at halftime, and I told you at halftime, Tony can vouch for me, that I had a feeling that Fulham had a really good chance of pulling this off the way the match was going. I thought that there would be substitutions and if Fulham could get a goal, I thought they had a really good chance, and it played out that way. But what I was concerned about, Tony, and you and I talked about this, I remember last season's match at Molineux, and I believe they scored 2 early goals and put the match away. And I thought they have to come out strong to begin the second half, and that's been a weakness for the majority of the season with a couple of exceptions. There have been some decent starts to the second half. This one was actually one of them, Tony, because Rodrigo Muniz scores almost instantaneously to start the second half. I did not see this coming. What a fantastic goal here, Tony.
Yeah. First of all, great assist from Traore.
Fantastic.
And look, Muniz deserved that goal, Russ, because of you know, how he played in the first half, and he came out, and as I said, he's really maturing. I can see a real maturity in his play and his performances. the more opportunity he gets, he's growing, he's getting stronger, he's getting more confident. He's obviously working very hard at training. They're working with him, certainly around his movement around the box. But his finish was sublime, absolute quality. Broke through and didn't panic in that situation. Very composed and a great finish, and fully deserved.
Fully deserved. And what was crazy is that they almost scored another just like that shortly after that, Tony. So I like the fact that the mentality was right afterwards to get another goal. And I was thinking, you need another goal here. But as the half went on, what's fascinating about this is when you talk about the way that we've talked about Fulham defensively, you said the collective defense of Fulham, it became extremely strong, difficult to break down. And that to me was what was impressive with what I watched in the second half. Before I talk about the substitutes, Tony, I just wanted to get your thoughts overall. After they scored the goal and they created a couple of opportunities, I kept hearing the announcer say, well, Wolves have 90% possession at this point. Well, they might have, but Fulham were comfortably defensively, Tony. And Cunha, they shut down Cunha pretty much. I know he had an opportunity in the second half, but they took him out of that match specifically in the second half of this game.
Defensively tonight, Fulham dominated, and it's been a long time since they've done that, Russ. I think we won more tackles than Wolves tonight. We had a lot more clearances, so we defended our 18-yard and 6-yard box really well tonight, and also aerially, the amount of headers we won and the amount of clearances from balls that came into our box tonight, we were dominant aerially tonight, which is not always one of our strengths. So that gave us the foothold because those three stepped up and defended really well tonight. But also collectively, other than the poor goal we gave away, actually we've defended really well tonight as a unit. And there's something to be said about this playing free at the back, Russ, and maybe that's a way that Silva's got to think about moving forward in certain games. I'm not saying every week, but I'm just saying
certain opponents.
Definitely, and certainly if it brings out the best in Anderson, I'm all for it. And I actually, when he took off Cuenca, I was a little bit like, oh no, I'm not happy you've done that, because he was playing well.
He was.
And you're sending on Bassi, who's now cold's got to get up to speed with the game, and I was like, I'm not sure, but thankfully it didn't impact anything.
No, it didn't, Tony. And let's now talk about the substitutes making a difference. And there are several. I'm glad that you brought up Bassi, because I was concerned about that, but didn't hurt Fulham at all by bringing him on. But the substitutes that, for me, made a big difference were Willian, Iwobi, and Robinson were massive for me coming on. And then you have Pereira moving back in the 8 role, which I don't love, but it was okay here because you had Iwobi and Willian come on. I want to also mention Jimenez comes on as well. But Muniz played fantastic, regardless of him being taken off. But I love the fact that it felt like this was a plan to have these guys on. And I always felt once they made these substitutions, Tony, that Wolves were going to struggle, not just to break us down, but we were going to get chances. And that's actually what happened, because I said to you, I thought if you bring on some of these players against tired legs, we're going to see Fulham have more possession. And that's exactly what happened, Tony. So defensively, it was solid, but then they were able to counter. And that was the difference. And I think that only happened when they made these substitutes, Tony.
Yeah, he's also made them relatively early for him, because normally he leaves it a little bit later. But look, when you're bringing on the experience that you're bringing on, William, Jimenez, Robinson, Iwobi, what those players do is they bring a certain calmness, which is what we needed going into that last 15, 20 minutes. Absolutely. And, you saw William, as soon as he gets on the ball, he doesn't panic. Everything's controlled.
Under control.
He moves it very simply, plays in the right areas, doesn't try to overdo it. And that's what you want. And that is the difference. So like I said, when was the last game you can remember Fulham bringing on 5 substitutes like they did tonight that have such a massive impact? I can't remember a game.
I
But
cannot either, Tony.
that's
Honestly.
because of the way Silva set us up, the way that the players approached the game, the players on the pitch, effectively won the game for Fulham. And then what the subs have done when they've come on is just to ensure that we don't lose it and give us that little bit. And actually, we should have wrapped it up even more comfortably.
Well, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Because Suhail has a good point, because he did miss a sitter and he had a couple of opportunities. And I think I jumped and almost hit my head when he missed one of them, Tony.
Well, the one that Sohail's talking about there, Russ, he actually should have squared it, because Iwobi was in a much better position. And I think Silva was going mad because that was on. And I think if Raul's taken that on, he's got to score it, because Iwobi was in such a good position. Yeah. But listen, he's a striker playing with confidence, and, I can understand why he took it on.
Okay, very good. All right, I'm just going to keep sharing some comments. This is from our friend Carl. He says, good thing for the changes. Gave from the regular starters rest and something to think about. So that's why I totally agree with our friend Carl here. All right, we're going to finish up this show. Coming up next, if you're watching live, please feel free to talk about man of the match. Okay, Tony, before we go to man of the match, I do want to talk about a little bit of a downer. And I was going to mention this in our post-match show and the other shows that we do, but I might as well mention it now. Lukic gets a soft yellow, a silly yellow, I should say, not soft, a silly yellow. And will miss 2 massive matches against Brighton and Tottenham Hotspur, Tony. Were you as ticked off as I was when you saw this yellow card for Lukic?
Look, the reality is, Russ, it was coming at some point. He's been hanging by a string for the last 3 or 4 games, and tonight, unfortunately, it's caught up with him. So look, if he's going to miss 2 games, let it be Brighton and Tottenham is the honest truth. What that does mean now is that, provided Smith Rowe's fit and healthy and isn't carrying an injury, he needs to step up now, Russ, big time.
Oh yes,
he needs to step up, because my feeling is that he'll drop Pereira back in with Berger, and Smith Rowe will come in. He needs to step up. He really does need to step up.
Or what he could do here, Tony, is he could play Iwobi in that role.
Yeah, he could do. Absolutely.
He could absolutely play him in the Lukic role and then toy with either Pereira or Smith Rowe in the number 10 role. He could do that. He actually, I want to say he did that against Brighton, right? I think he did that then. So there are some options here against these 2 tough opponents, and Brighton's going to be very difficult, which is called what it is. So it's going to be hard, but I actually think that we have some pieces for 2 matches to get by. And I think part of that is, Tony, that obviously I love the combination of Berger and Lukic, but they still have Berger, and I think he's made a massive difference. He really is your holding midfielder now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, it's, those, once Sunday's out of the way, and obviously we hope we get a positive result, but if not, those 2 games, Tottenham and Brighton, are really big. And as I said, whoever comes in, whatever, Silva decides to go with, at the end of the day, the players will have to step up. And that's what it's going to come down to now, is every player taking responsibility and doing their bit and playing to the top levels that they can. And I think maybe now is the opportunity for Smith Rowe to really put his hat, on the ground and say, right, you know what, for the next 10 games, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and this is what I'm going to do for the team.
I hope so, my friend. All right. Here's an interesting comment from Black, White, and Fred. Lukic was always going to get that yellow. He has been somewhat handcuffed by that pending suspension. When he comes back, he won't have to tiptoe so much. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen at some point. I said to you that maybe matches, I'm going to say it right now, Liverpool, Arsenal coming up. I think I would rather have Lukic for those matches. I know the importance of the matches coming up, Tony, but at least he can now play with freedom moving forward. That's a good point.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so he has to keep chiming in. And we love that you are commenting, my friend. We always beat Brighton, though. We do. What is it with us and Brighton?
Look, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a really good game, because obviously it's an important game for them as well. So, it's going to be two teams that will be at it, hammer and tong. They're going to be up for it because of what.
Would you consider playing this formation against them?
Yes, I would actually. Yeah, 100%. I absolutely would.
I think this might work against Brighton.
Yeah, and you know what? The good thing now is Silva's got some headaches because the way that Muniz played tonight, he's laid his hat in the ring and said, you know what? I'm ready for Sunday. I want to play Sunday. So,
it's a good problem to have, man. Good problem to have.
Yep,
absolutely. Okay, let's end this episode with man of the match. Tony, you've already said it. Rodrigo Muniz is your man of the match. It's hard to argue against that.
All day long, I thought he was outstanding tonight. There were some really good performances. Don't get me wrong. I thought pretty much everyone played their part and did well. But for me, just the way he led the line, defended from the front, took his goal really well, was a constant threat and menace throughout. And yeah, I just think he, and one thing we haven't mentioned, Russ, actually, Castagna's come in for a lot of jip this season for being, underperforming and what have you. Let me tell you, he made an outstanding tackle towards the end of the game.
That's a great point.
And I really, that gave us
saved the victory.
Absolutely, 100%. So he deserves a special mention for that tackle. But yeah, for me, Muniz all day.
Okay. I have to share this comment from Suhail. He says, we need to predict the Brighton game together, Russ, to make it actually happen. I'm there with you. I've already talked to Suhail, maybe getting him and Giannis together for a Fulham Canada episode. I think that would be fantastic.
Perfect.
So I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to have you on a show so we can predict that. I promise you that. Okay. We'll figure out the details. Suhail, you'll come on that show. All right. Let's now do some more comments. This is from Chris Goodwin, who happens to be a Liverpool supporter. If people don't know that. There's only one man of the match, and it has to be Muniz. Led the line very well and a great winning goal. Completely agree. Carl has to mention this. We've already talked about we're only 4 points off the top four. How crazy is that, Tony? And Black, White, and Fred says, sentimental Sess, man of the match, should really be Muniz, though. Colm Bugler has an interesting one. Diop. What are your thoughts about Diop?
Like I said, he looked like he hadn't been away. I thought he came in and he's performed like he has whenever he's whenever he's been given the opportunity, Russ. He was solid tonight. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. Very good. Okay, well, I intended just to go about 25, 30 minutes. I've enjoyed every minute of this, Tony. I promise we will have a post-match show. We're going to have more shows of this. If I have to do 4 shows after the 2-0 loss, I have to do multiple shows of this, my friend. Okay, I have to. I totally have to because I'm going to enjoy this. This is a very enjoyable victory and a well-deserved victory, Tony. It's a bounce back. This team can be resilient. Every time I think we all think the worst is going to happen, they pull this off. That is something that I'm going to take out of this. And that's a credit to Marco. I was hard on Marco after the last match, and I think it's warranted. But then at the same time, I can praise him for the job he did in this match. I critique with what I see, my friend. But the one thing that I will say is that the players, the coach and staff, and Marco are resilient.
They showed character tonight, Russ. Yep. That's all you can ask. After such a shoddy performance Saturday, which they would have been, they didn't need telling. To come out and then to put it right so quickly. And I think sometimes there's something to be said about having a quick game straight after a defeat like that. I think Silva mentioned it in his presser. Yeah. And, he's had the opportunity to get it right, put it right. They've now got, a good few days now to rest up and then get ready for the big one on Sunday, which we're all looking forward to because we owe that United team big time. So we got to go there, Russell, with the endeavour that we showed tonight. No fear, brave, take it to them, and let's put them to sleep.
Okay, Tony. I can't believe I'm going to say this. They play 3 at the back. Would you do this again against Manchester United?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Why? It worked. It worked. Why not? Okay. United are not playing that well, Russ. They're there for the taking. Okay. We've got to go against them and be brave and take our chances like we did tonight, and we'll be fine. Okay, Chris, I'm going to share this. I hope you're right. Fulham 3-0, okay? Now, again, he hates Manchester United for obvious reasons, but I hope you're right, Chris. I'm not going to predict that yet, but
am going to predict a Fulham victory. You can bet you're behind. I'm going to be predicting a Fulham victory because, as you said, Tony, we owe them big time. I can't stand that team. I can't stand their supporters. We have to win. We can't lose to Manchester United 3 times. This poor United team, we cannot lose 3 times in a season to them. So Chris, I hope you're right. I'll take any victory against that side. Okay, I really will. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Before we go, Tony, any final thoughts?
No, listen, I'm pleased. It's great. Everyone will be happy tonight. All the Fulham faithful, keep the faith. I know we have the ups and downs and we get frustrated, like, after performances like Saturday. But hopefully now we can build on this and get a nice, decent run of games together and keep marching on. And honestly, holding on to that European dream, Russ, holding on to it.
Okay, every time I talk to you, it's either on, it's off, and now it's back on again. I think my head's going to explode talking about the European dream because it literally has been this roller coaster ride. You and I do a show, it's off. Then we do a show, it's back on again. It's back on again. That's how crazy this season's been. It's been fantastic overall. It has. It's been disappointing at points, but that's what happens when you are a Fulham supporter. You're on this crazy roller coaster ride. I wouldn't change that for anything, except maybe just a little consistency. I would, just a little. I don't think I'm asking too much. Anyways, well, that's going to do it for this episode. He's Tony Gold. I'm Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening. Cottage Talk, part of the Talk Sport Fan Network.